Alright guys, so today we're going to look at a pair of truly wireless earbuds that's from a company that's already surprised me one time with the release of their truly wireless earbuds that blew me away for 50 bucks. And so the pair we're going to look at today is the Tranya B530, which comes in at 60. So when we previously checked out the Tranya T3, I think it's one of the best bass earbuds that you can get, and they're only 50 bucks. So with these coming in at $60, I already went into this with certain expectations, which by the end of the video, I will explain why I was surprised. So let's start with some of the features and what comes inside the box. Now the first thing is this does have Bluetooth 5.0, which actually has a very stable connection. I had no dropouts and I had no issues with lag with videos. Now they also use a Realtek audio chip, so they are focusing more on the audio than what a lot of other companies are doing, especially in this price range. Now, as far as the IP rating, they are IPX5 water and sweat resistant. So again, if you're out and about, it's one of those that you don't have to worry about your surroundings. Just make sure you don't submerge them into water. Now, as far as what comes inside the box, you do have the usual small, medium, and large silicone ear tips. Now, I did find that the ones that came on them right out of the box were a little too small, so I did have to upgrade to the larger one to get a really good seal, and that in itself made a huge difference when it came to the sound. Now, as far as any other accessories, it comes with micro USB, which I'll just go ahead and leave that right there. So as far as the charging cable goes, battery life on these are actually really good. Individually, you're going to get around 8 hours of battery life, where with the case, you're gonna get a total of around 56 hours. So in that price range, that is very surprising. Now, speaking of the case, I do want to talk about that for a second because it is a very small case, but I also feel that it feels kind of cheap. I mean, the plastic top that they consider to be kind of see-through is something that's definitely going to scratch easily. And as far as opening and closing the lid on this, it just has a very cheaper, flimsier feel to it. So that's just one of those things I think might not be a big deal to some people, but if you do break the lid, that's one thing that you just can't go out and replace. So as far as the case goes, you do have your battery indicator lights on the outside, and then you have your micro USB input for charging. So on to the earbuds themselves. One thing, they have the touch controls instead of the actual buttons. So you're able to control play, pause, skip, volume control, summon your smart assistant. Everything can be controlled within the earbud. Now, the earbud itself, design-wise, is actually fairly small. And the big thing about that is when they're in your ear, if you actually have to try to adjust them because they're so small, you find that you accidentally touch the touch controls quite a bit. And over time, that can be kind of frustrating. Now, if you do want to use these individually, you are able to use the left or the right, but you do have to go into the Bluetooth options and pair the left one separately. Now, the downfall about that is, as far as controls go, they still act as though they're two. So if you only have the left one in your earbud, you're only able to go back to the previous track or turn the volume down. So you lose the controls of skipping the track forward or turning the volume up because you're not using the right earbud. Now, as far as the mic quality on these, it is fairly decent. So as far as taking calls, it is definitely a mic that will get the job done, but you guys can judge it by listening to a test here. All right, guys, so here is the mic test of the Tranya B530. I think it does a very good job of picking up my vocals extremely well while also picking up bass tones. But listen to it here while having a crowd playing in the background. And so this is what it would sound like if you were in a public area, if you were in a restaurant or a bar or anything similar to that. So now let's talk about the sound quality. This is where I was saying that I was really surprised, because the Tranya T3, I honestly will say, is one of the best bass truly wireless earbuds that you can get. I mean, the bass is strong, the bass is impactful. It's an overall bass earbud, where the Tranya B530 is actually advertised as saying it has deep bass. So I was kind of expecting the same thing, but what I got was something completely different. The bass on these actually kind of feel like they're sitting in the back seat a little bit. They have a lot more air to them. It's not as impactful and in your face as the T3s were, but it is a completely different sound. The sound of these just feel like they have more depth, they have more air to them, and the treble is actually the star of the show when it comes to these earbuds. The crisp details, the highs are just so clean and so clear. They're definitely not near to the point of harsh, and that might also play in the fact that I think that the volume could actually use another notch or two to be able to get the most out of these. So I felt at times I would like to just be able to turn them up a little louder than what they're capable of going. The mids on these are a little more recessed. They're not as upfront and in your face to be able to hear the vocals standing out in front. It feels like it just is balanced well within the music, but the bass, again, is the big surprise. I was expecting just, very punchy, very accurate, and then what you get is something that feels like it has depth and it feels like it has a little more air to it, which essentially you would think would mean a more open sound stage, but that's not the case either. It does feel like the bass is adding a little more depth, but as far as instrument separation and being able to tell where things are coming from, this is not the earbud for that. This is not one of those you would use to just pick things apart and be able to pick up every little detail. Now, I'm not saying that these are congested or they're muddy, because they're not. I think they do a really good job of separating the frequencies, just not a great job of separating the instruments. So it was fun to go and listen to pretty much any genre. It worked very well. Again, not having bass be up front and taking over the rest of the frequencies is a huge plus if you listen to easy listening or classical or even the scores to soundtracks. It just has a very laid back sound. It's kind of hard to explain, but this is not an in-your-face earbud. It is very clean and it's very clear. The bass is just a little more in the back than what people are used to. And then the mid's just sitting there, kind of recessed and not in your face either. This is just an overall really nice pair of earbuds to listen to without frequencies just trying to take over one another. Now, as far as the cons go, the case on this, again, I just felt is a very cheap feeling case. The earbuds being so small and having the touch controls makes it very easy to accidentally hit and do things that you're not meaning to do. The volume definitely needs probably another notch or two for most of you out there, especially if you're in an environment where a lot of stuff is going on. These do an okay job of isolating the sound, but to really drown out everything around you, you would really want to turn these up a little bit more. But outside of that, I think Tranya definitely has another great pair of truly wireless earbuds on their hand. $60 is an incredible value, especially considering this is a different sound signature than what a lot of other companies are trying to push out constantly, which is an overpowering bass where you usually start to get a congested sound. It's definitely one that I think would be a good pickup to have even as your main truly wireless earbuds. So guys, that is my review of the Tranya B530. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.